time, what is time? Like, what is it, actually? Is it actually something that exists? That very sentence is probably not such a good one, since existence is a whole nother fucking department. So is time entirely just our perception and labelization of things that we consider to be aging around us? Or are we just trying to come up with some sort of label and understanding to satisfy our own never-ending curiosity into how the way things work? Are we getting this time thing wrong? Are we seeing it wrong? Okay, so as previously in the other two we did, feel free to comment down below your perception of time. Dislike, like, but be sure to actually hit something so, we can get these videos a little bit more traction. So grab a coffee, tea, play some Minecraft, watch some porn. I don't fucking care. Watching this video is not needed. All you need to do is listen to it. But if you've got nothing else to do, I've got some background footage you can watch. So first off, we'll probably explain the way science, for instance, interprets time. Me personally, I think of science as its own religion. There's a lot of explanation as to why I think that. We can go into depth about that in another area at some point. But for the moment, let's just establish that science is probably the most logical explanation that we have in regards to explaining the things around us that we can see and touch and smell, and etc. Anyway, so one of the probably first things you'll see when researching time is the theory of general relativity, which was Albert Einstein's theory on what space-time is. Once again, that's a theory, but it's been generally accepted by science as a very stable theory and a way to explain many things. Now, let me just say before we continue, I'm not really good at science. I don't know enough about general relativity to be able to reliably recite the way it works or the way people perceive its theory, but I'm just essentially putting out what I know and what you can sort of find just by searching up time on Google, pretty much, or DuckDuckGo. I'd suggest DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo's good. So I would say universally, time is described as the sequence of events happening. Usually it would be from past to present to future. And there is no way to skip through time, at least with our physical bodies. And that's a whole nother department as well. And it's sort of what influences my perception of time as well. So there is a lot of explanations for time. Let's get into what I think it is. I think time, number one, I don't think time exists at all. The very idea, first of all, the word time. Humans created language so they could communicate better, instead of going, I want woman. So us being able to label things around us helps us make sense of the world around us, and we as humans, we have to know everything. That's why we're constantly asking questions non-stop. We're never, ever happy unless we know exactly how something works. And if we don't know how something works, we usually consider it magic, and one of my favorite quotes, I can't remember where it was from, or ideas, was what we consider today as things that make sense. We know how they work, and from a scientific point of view, they were magic centuries ago. If you were to show an iPad to a caveman, they would think you're a sorcerer or something. So, anyway, off topic. So let's say, time at some point throughout human history, we didn't have a name for it. And let's try to think of a time when, let's try to think of, a time when we didn't know what time was, or we didn't have a name for it, or the very act of things, aging around us and moving through nature wasn't really our priority. Our priority was to eat, hunt, sleep, shit, piss, eat, breed, multiply. At one point in history, that was our entire goal. But as we started to master these sort of things, I can imagine the human brain gets bored. And there would have to be a certain point, there'd have to be a certain tipping point in history where we just had to question and sort of think of a name for the things happening around us that we couldn't explain. Like, for instance, one of your tribe members, you were just like, that's it. What the fuck is causing those wrinkles to pop up on your face? And why are my friends dying whenever? It's so difficult to explain this without using the word time. It is so embedded in our language and our perception of how our society works. It's almost impossible to try and think about a time when we didn't know what, or we didn't have a name for time. like the very idea of time. I think it was in the general relativity thingy. It explains it as a fourth dimensional thing. You can't see time, you can't hear time, you can't smell time, you can't taste time, and you can't touch time. One would argue that you could possibly see time, and maybe this sight of time passing is probably the only way we were able to actually even conceive the idea of time. Because in the example where I said the dude's like, what the fuck is that? That's a wrinkle. And these people are dying after a certain period of... There's just no way to fucking finish the sentence without time. After a certain period of blank. People around you would die. You would notice the aging process of trees and stuff. So there had to be a point. It's so difficult to imagine. But I do think sight might have been one of the only senses that was the creation of, or the ability to understand what time is around us. Because you can see things age. So this leads into what I think time is like personally to me as a person. So that was my theory on, you know, how it would come to be, and that sort of influences everything from here on. So I personally believe that we as humans do not have the ability to understand a lot of things. So another example of time just being completely impossible to explain or understand or make sense of in your head in some sort of tangible sense is the theory where I forget what it's called, but it's where a three-dimensional being interacts with a two-dimensional plane. There are animations on YouTube of this. I think there's a name for it. So I don't remember what the exact word for it is, but let me just put it in perspective using paint, for instance. If you're not watching, you might want to pause whatever you're doing just to quickly have a look. But you don't have to if you already know what it is. So let's say we've got a circle. That's a piece of paper over here. And then we have I can't draw a fucking 3D circle. I mean sphere. Then we have a three-dimensional object over here. And then we have a one-dimensional object over here. So 1 dimension, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions. Because we as humans would universally agree that we exist on the third dimension. We can see the third dimension, we can see the second dimension, and we can see the first dimension. However, it doesn't work the other way around. Because we're a 3D object, if we were to move our way into a 2D realm, the way it would work is really trippy, and there's lots of videos on YouTube about this, but as we would move into the second dimension, we would be able to see it. However, from the perspective of the 2 dimension, this is what they would see as we entered their world. This is the second dimension. That's what they see all the time. So our 3-dimensional being, let's say us, for instance, the only way for a 2-dimensional being to actually see a 3-dimensional being is if it were to pass into its dimension like that. But the only thing it would see is this. The 2-dimensional being would never ever be able to actually comprehend or understand or see the entirety of what a 3-dimensional being is. And I think this is the same concept in the same way time sort of works with us. I think time is not actually what we think it is. I think time is so out of our grasp that we're trying to label it in so many different ways to explain it, but we can't. There's only so much we can explain on the concept of time before we just can't explain anymore. Our minds are not built for it. So using the same example, this is the same for 4-dimensional beings. This is actually, it's a theory that other species like aliens, for instance, put the tinfoil hat on, ready? UFOs actually got confirmed a while ago, which is interesting. But anyway, like officially. Anyway, so us as humans, we would never actually be able to see a 4-dimensional being in its entirety. We'd see a section of it. We'd never be able to see the whole thing. And the same goes for 2-dimensional being seeing us. They'd only see a section of us. And they wouldn't ever be able to imagine what the full being would look like. And a 1-dimensional being would never be able to understand what a 2-dimensional being would look like. They'd only see a section. So I think this very idea, this ideology, when it comes to explaining 3 dimensions, or all the dimension sort of things, this same concept can be put towards time. We don't have the ability to understand what it is, but we can only view it as much as we can see it. And we can't really see it that much. We just see the aging process pretty much and the things growing around us and dying. There's probably more to it, but all we see... Let's just convert time to a 3D object for now, okay? Let's downscale everything, all right? All right, so we're getting rid of 1 dimension. Us humans, we're going to go down to 2 dimensions, okay? We're in the 2D realm, yo. So all us humans are on this piece of paper. Then you've got this cube, which is time. My belief on what time is, I do not believe we can understand it. I believe we can see sections of it, but I don't believe we can understand it entirely. We just cannot. At least from our live consciousness. Now, this also goes into depth on the theory that there are different realms and there are different ways to perceive the world around you through, for instance, meditation, hallucinogenics, different ways to alter your brain chemistry to see things in a different way. Because I think scientifically, we only have access to, it's been proven via science, I think, that we only understand how to use about, what is it, 13% of our brain? So the 10%, us using 10% of our brain is actually a myth, which I did not know until just quickly searching it up. So I'm having a look now, actually. So the 10% thing is just a myth, and I would say even though it's a myth, it's a pretty good sort of estimation of our abilities of, how much we actually probably understand about our own brains. I think it would be impossible to actually see how much we understand. You can use methods of science to hook things up onto the brain to see which parts activate throughout some individual's life. However, this goes into the whole idea that maybe not everything is contained within our 5 senses, and quite a few other things, not only time, can be explained via that same concept where it would be 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 6-dimensional, that sort of thing. So time's a whammy, isn't it? In my head, it's a jungle of mess. But the important thing that I always have to keep telling myself is, when you get this deep into trying to figure out what the hell something is, you need an off switch. There are a few mental illnesses where, so in the past, fun little story about myself. In the past, I had to stop studying philosophy because, first of all, I have obsessive compulsive disorder and autism, and there was a time when me studying philosophy, it was actually questioning everything, all of the methods I was learning to deal with my OCD. When you question everything, you can't just take things as they are, and you can't rely on other people to help you because you question them. You question the validity of the things they tell you on how to fix things. So there needs to be an off switch, and I've learned how to do that over the years. And now I feel like I'm comfortable enough delving a bit into philosophy more. If you can't turn it off, you go down this rabbit hole you can never get out of. This is why humans like to label things and make things simple. Because if we had this, for instance, this whole conversation on time, if we had that whole thing play inside our heads every single time someone said the word time, I don't think our brains would probably work right in a conversation that should only take a few seconds. You need an off switch for this sort of thing. An on and an off switch. And unfortunately, I don't know enough about it, but I've met a few people who have existential OCD. I get a lot of sexual thoughts stuck in my head with my OCD. And there's a lot of other stuff that I don't really want to talk about. Not because I'm embarrassed, but just I can't be bothered. But I have fallen into this rut where I wouldn't consider it existential OCD, but there were points in time where my mental state would be damaged by doing this sort of thing. So let's just stop for now, because this can go on forever. We can discuss time until the end of time. Yeah, let's stop for now. I thought we were going to get into maybe researching what other people think time is, but you know what? I'm pretty happy explaining what my perception of time is. Even then, I'm still unable to explain it. I've been able to explain the concept of what I think on how we think of time. We're falling down the rabbit hole again. Let's stop. Time to stop. Okay. Yes, I'm gonna stop. You don't have to. You can pause the video and come back to it. But yeah, it's a very interesting concept, to say the least. Thank you for listening so much. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.